This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Say, Frank, I'm at a loss.
You say, hello.
I'm at a loss
We're
for
back
words.
again.
Okay, hello, we're back
You
again.
are a loss for words. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Nobody believes that one. Yeah.
Hey, you know, I've done several stories that really came out of the Huck Boyd Institute over at Kansas State University. And I started thinking there are probably a couple of generations that have no idea who's Huck Boyd. McDill Huck Boyd was another famous Kansan, famous in politics, and an all-around regular guy. He really was. And of course, another individual who came out of a publishing family.
Right.
And mostly in Western Kansas. People in Western Kansas that are watching say, well, we know who Huck Boyd is. We still read the newspapers that his family used to publish out here.
Here on the program, we've done several stories developed by the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development and the Huck Boyd National Center for Community Media. Just who was Huck Boyd? Well, Boyd for decades was the publisher of the Phillips County Review, a weekly newspaper in his hometown. His parents, Frank W. and Mamie Alexander Boyd, purchased the paper the year he was born. Frank had previously been the editor since 1902 of the Phillips County Post. The couple changed the name of the paper from the Post to the Review. There was considerable competition at that time in sparsely populated Phillips County, with 4 other newspapers in Phillipsburg and other publications in neighboring smaller towns. Huck, the boy's first child, joined the newspaper staff in 1929 as a junior editor when the Great Depression caused him to withdraw from college and return home to help his parents. The Boyd family was deeply involved in the newspaper business. Huck's brother, Bus, given name Frank, after a stellar sports career at Kansas State Agricultural College, now Kansas State University, coached sports for a time, but later became editor of the Jewell County Record in Mankato, Kansas. Nephews and nieces and their descendants of Huck Boyd have also operated the Hill City Times, the Norton Daily Telegram, among Kansas newspapers. Huck Boyd also served as president of the Kansas Press Association. Fellow Kansas newspaper Hall of Famer Henry Jameson once said of Boyd, "He was that rare kind of guy pulling together and getting things done with a minimum of fuss and fanfare. He never hogs the spotlight. He appears to be in the background, but all the time he's out front calling signals." Huck Boyd was very involved in his community, state, and region as a promoter of business and industry. He played key roles in bringing the first cooperative refinery to Phillipsburg, established the Mid-States Port Authority, which brought and maintained 465 miles of rail line after the Rock Island Railroad went bankrupt in the late 1970s, and obtained legislative approval to solve the small-town doctor shortage in western Kansas by establishing rural family practice residences, an idea later copied in other states. He was a former student and ardent supporter of Kansas State University in Manhattan, which now boasts the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development and the Huck Boyd National Center for Community Media at the A.Q. Miller School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Kansas State also boasts a Huck Boyd Lecture Series, which has brought a number of speakers to the university. Boyd was active in Republican politics, twice launching campaigns for governor of Kansas and serving from 1967 to 1987 as a Kansas representative on the Republican National Committee. Both former Senator Robert Dole and current Kansas Senator Pat Roberts have considered Boyd to be a mentor in their political careers. Boyd maintained considerable influence in the state Republican Party, as he held almost every role within the leadership structure at one time or another, including state president. Boyd was chairman of media arrangements for the Republican National Conventions in 1968, 72, and 76, and in 1970, he was one of 2 public members of the United States delegation to the United Nations Economic and Social Council in Geneva, Switzerland. Boyd also served for a time as a member of the chairman of the Kansas Board of Regents, which oversees operations of the 6 state-funded Regents universities in the state of Kansas. Boyd was widely known and highly regarded in Kansas, both for his journalism career and his involvement in politics and community service. Through the years, he received a number of honors, including awards as Kansan of the Year, the first ever Kansan of the Decade, Distinguished Kansan for Citizenship, Man of the Year for Forestry, and the Kansas State University Alumni Association's Medallion Award. Boyd also received several significant journalism awards. He was honored with the William Allen White Award for Journalistic Merit, the first Victor Murdoch Award for Distinction in Journalism and Community Service, and was a recipient of the Eugene Survey Award for the International Society of Weekly Newspaper Editors for public service through community journalism. Huck Boyd died in January 1987 in Phillipsburg, and he is buried in that city's Fairview Cemetery. MacDill, Huck Boyd, outstanding Kansan.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we showcase my renowned frontier military and Native American artifacts. Behind me you see a touch of fall. We put together not only the beauty of Micah Highwalking, who is the first graduate of West Point of the Northern Cheyenne people and a dear friend, but also a Hudson's Bay blanket that I have here in the gallery. The unique opportunity that I was able to have was we unveiled this painting and surprised Micah at Custer Battlefield, a true honor.